Holy cow! There we go. This is Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy, and I'm early. It is probably 5 minutes before my assigned time to go online with you guys, but I figured I would do it a little bit early. I am going to be winging it because the last little bit has been insane and I have not actually prepared any sort of itinerary. So I am going to be counting on you guys to dictate to me what we are going to talk about. Primarily because I have been so darn busy shipping out stuff to you guys who are building your own RC subs. I haven't been able to build a heck of a lot for myself or for other people, but there's some exceptions. I'm going to be going into that. It is June the 18th, I think. Hold on. Let me check. It is Thursday, June the 18th, coming up on 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to be talking about RC submarines, which is my very favorite topic in the world to talk about. It feels like it's been forever since we've had a chance to talk. And look, we're like early, and there's 16 people online. What the heck? You guys are either waiting for me, or I managed to catch you at a neutral time in your life with nothing else to do but look at me. So thanks for joining me. Hey, got some exciting news to share with you all. I am super excited because it's going to make a big difference for the Nautilus dry docks. And what I am talking about is I have bitten the bullet, made the investment not only in money but in time to hire somebody. Let me try and get these lights out, man. Those things like mess up. We got like a silhouette going on there. There we go. I have hired somebody, and I am super excited. So you guys are going to come to know him well. I am going to be pushing out his face and information to you shortly, but his name is Jason Butterfield, and I hired him 2 days ago to come and help me. So I am super excited because he is going to be managing my shop, my facility that I've got off across the street. And basically that entails a few different things. That is basically all of the order collection, picking, packing, shipping, inventory control. That's going to free me up to do a lot more builds, a lot more videos, a lot more blog articles. I'll be able to get to my forums and start posting in there. Super excited about that. Did want to let you know, since the last video, I told you I had something in the magnitude of like 14 builds lined up. I needed to make some hard decisions, and I canceled probably half of them. So still working through getting a hold of some customers. I had to be a little bit mercenary with that, but in fairness to them, I did not want to push out builds into 2021. But there are still some cool things coming up, including the next one, because I know Ed is going to chime in if he's here today. He's like, where's my build and when's it starting? It is starting next. And if you can see, oh, look at that. That's a cool angle. The bow of a 30th scale German Type 21. I am going to get this thing finished if it kills me. I don't know if Marcel, the owner, is on there or not, but we're going to get this darned thing finished. And I'm going to start things out with taking a little tour of where we're at right now, what we're doing, and what's left to do to get this thing operational. So let me grab you, shake you around a little bit, make you a little motion sick. Let's take a look at this thing. So 1/30th scale. Gosh, take a look at the length of this this thing. We're basically talking about almost a 9-foot long model here. And here's the inside guts and gizmos. We can start, kind of from the back where we are at with this particular boat. A lot of this has been done, a long time ago. And like I said, I've had forever since I've been able to work on this thing, but it's on the bench, literally on the bench. And we're going to get this thing done if it kills me. Let's take a look at what we got going on. We got a rudder assembly back here, and we got a belt drive in here. That works really, really well. I'm excited to see this working. We've also got the dive planes in place, some gigantic, like 2¼ inch, beautiful, beautiful brass propellers that are going to get this thing going on. This is I would say, like the main watertight compartment. And I've gone into this before, and I've got a blog article talking about this. This is what I call the MSS modular subsystem for controlling large-scale RC submarines. And this isn't anything I sell. This is a methodology, all right? The idea behind it is you've got a series of connected watertight boxes that house all of the integral guts of the submarine. So in this particular case, we've got a pair of large electric motors that are driving these twin output shafts and some servo outputs. But the cool thing about these boxes, and they're S3 is the model name, watertight boxes. And I have a blog article talking about these, where you can get them and what they cost. But look how easy it is to get into them. Like, how cool is that, really? Big motors, we got our speed controller, all of the electronics, servos, receiver. We've got our main ballast pump in here, and then outputs that run to the forward compartment in here. Typically in a boat this size, you would see, this would be something called a dry hull boat. So let's take a look at what that looks like. This is how it was built initially when I got this hull out of Germany. This was all kind of solid, right? And then you had these like studs, and you'd put a lid on top and you'd bolt it down, and you have this compartment, you have a lid, and you bolt that down. So the whole inside of the boat would be dry, which is very cool if you've got a lot of like stuff to put inside. But the bad news is you need about a gajillion pounds of ballast to offset all of that buoyancy. And in a boat this size, this thing would probably literally weigh 200 pounds. I am not kidding, if that whole section was actually dry. So I strayed from that methodology, and basically the only things that are dry are the watertight compartments. We've got some custom-made ballast systems that you can see in here. There's 2 of them, an aft one and a forward one. And then the forward section right here that lives in the front. And that houses the electronics to drive all of the retractable bow planes, which are like super cool. Look at that. And the, can I do this here? The retracting bow planes. Center section is all open, and the reason for that is oh, look at that. We got this over here. The operational periscope system right here. This is based off of a series of syringes. Now, I don't know if I were to do this again that I would build it in this particular manner, but I did, and it works, so that's how we're going to do it. And that goes in there, and that takes up the center section, and that's why this has been a particularly challenging build, because we've had to split the ballast tank. Each one has its own individual solenoid for venting, and then a single air pump in. And then these are connected together so that the air equalizes and all of the water equals out for the particular ballast system. So this is where we're at right now. What I got left to do, I've just got to finish up these forward linkages, get them connected magnetically to this forward watertight compartment in here. Originally, this was slated for operational torpedoes. I do not have the capability to implement them. So for those of you who are looking for torpedoes in this particular boat, I have to not fulfill your wishes or desires to see those working, but the torpedo shutters certainly will. This is just something that I needed to do. The owner actually doesn't even know that yet. I've got to get in touch with him and let him know that I'm not going to be able to fulfill that aspect of the build, and obviously I'll credit him back for that. This is a challenging time for me, you know. This is the most dangerous time for a small business, and that's the transition from a very small business into more of a medium-sized business when you start making investments in shop space and in people, because it's a big step. And as things stand right now, I need to make some pretty hard decisions about where I'm going to be allocating time and energy. So that is what's going on with the big Type 21. Once that's done, we're going to be moving on to a 1/48 scale German Type 7, and there's going to be a complete and detailed build blog on that boat, start to finish. So if you are a U-boat fan, you need to make sure that you subscribe to my channel, because I am going to be documenting that build from start to finish, step by step, what you need to do to get that boat going with the standardized components that I have available, and some extra cool stuff like sound modules and LED lighting and a bunch of cool stuff like that. So that's the ARC Model 1/48 scale German Type 7 RC submarine. That is going to be the next build queued up and should be starting fairly shortly. Right, so I missed like a ton of comments. Let me back up in here and see what you guys have been talking about. Someone is looking to make a 9-foot 3D printed U-boat, but the printer broke. Woo! Okay, that's a good segue. This is a good segue. So let's talk a little bit about 3D printed hulls and some advantages and disadvantages. I don't like the glare that I've got going on. Do I have like a dirty screen? I'm kind of hazy. Hold on a second. Whoa, that's a little better. I had a dirty screen. Nice. I can see me. Okay. When you start talking about 3D printed hulls, there's a lot of advantages. I've got a whole section dedicated to 3D CAD files on my website, nautilusdrydocks.com. 3D printed CAD files for RC submarines. I've got like 5 or 6 that are up there right now. The next one that is coming out is a 1/72nd US skipjack class RC submarine. That will be probably by the end of the weekend. That's going to be out and up and available for you. It's the same scale as the Mobius skipjack hull, but it'll be obviously third of the price as that particular hull, and set up for RC operation. When you start talking about 3D printed hulls, there are several advantages to it. There's repeatability and the ability to print it out in almost any scale. So you can scale that RC submarine to almost anything. And as that particular individual has already done, he's scaling it up to something absolutely massive at 9 feet. Now, in my experience, the biggest downside to 3D printing hull is the material that you're printing it in. Most hobby 3D printers are printing in something called PLA plastic, and I don't remember what PLA stands for, but basically this is like a corn-based vegetable product that is super easy to work with. It results in exceptionally high quality prints, but it melts at a very low temperature. The issue is when you get a big dark hull out in a bright, hot sun, you get warping, and that plastic softens up. I have printed many 3D RC submarines, one for each one of the prototypes that you guys have seen in that particular section. I left one on my workbench back there in my air-conditioned garage. All right? The sun came through the window, shone on the hull, and distorted it, okay? You cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, leave these hulls out in the sunlight because they will warp, distort, and mess up your project royally, okay? Now, there's other materials that you can print in, and some of them are a little bit more conducive to the subject. You can use PETG plastic. Ideally, you use something a little bit more robust like ABS plastic, but hobby printers typically don't handle that kind of material very well. All right? So basically what I'm saying to that particular gentleman is if you are printing in PLA plastic, be very, 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 very careful how you handle that hull. Do not let that thing out in the sunlight for any extended period of time whatsoever. It's going to make a beautiful boat. Just be very, very careful. It is not, by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever, going to be even remotely as robust as a proper fiberglass hull. All right? So for those of you who are looking to turn to 3D printing to create your dream boat, you may wish to reconsider. In my opinion, a 3D printed boat is a gateway drug to a properly engineered and properly manufactured RC submarine kit. All right? That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. You can agree with me or not. By all means, make a comment if you want in there. Let's see what else we got in here. Oh, Matt from Bex is here. That's nice. An airplane guy. Hey, you know what? You should build that Russian boat that was an airplane and a submarine. That would be cool. Type 9, Type 9. Everybody loves a Type 9. Those are beautiful boats. I love the late war version with the pinched nose on the deck for the fast dive. That would be really cool. Let's see here. 2 Revell versions, plastic hulls. Again, that's a beautiful, hey, that's a cool thing to touch on. Thank you, Revell kits. One way to, in a quasi more economical manner, to get into the hobby is to grab these large-scale plastic model kits from companies like Revell or Trumpeter or Mobius Models, okay? Super popular, super common, lots of people do it and they turn into beautiful boats. But you have to do some work. You can't just kind of like, connect all of the rods and everything and all of a sudden it's an RC sub. You need to, in a lot of times, replace certain parts, add certain parts, build certain parts, and that takes a certain degree of skill. Now, back in the day, a very talented gentleman that many of you have heard me quote before is David Merriman III, and he came out with something called a fittings kit. And this was for RC submarine plastic model conversion kits, and basically it included a bunch of resin parts that would replace the plastic parts, and they came with the shafts, and they came with the linkages, and they came with all of the parts, and there was like a bajillion little pieces in a baggie, and it cost like $200, like more than the model itself, and nobody would buy them. And now what's happening is they're not available because he's like, well, screw you guys, I'm not going to build them anymore. And everybody's like, well, where's the fitting kits? I can't build this model without the fitting kits. We can't do it. It doesn't work like that. The fitting kits make life easier. They are not required. Okay, back up. The fitting kits make life easier, but they are not required, okay? It means you need to work out how to convert things and do it your darn self. All right, now, having said all of that, we are reintroducing the fittings kits for the plastic models, all right? As many of you have heard, my whole goal in life is to get more people involved in the hobby, and I think a great way to do that is through these plastic model kits as a gateway drug to get you into the hobby. And if we can make it easier, then we need to do that. So we're going to come out with a dumbed down version of those fitting kits. It's going to be a little bit more cost effective, and it's going to allow you to convert those plastic model kits in a much easier manner. So I am super excited. I literally just shipped out the master patterns from here to David today. And he should get them in about 2 days. We're going to go through, make a list of what parts will and will not be included in the kits, and we're going to make it happen for you. So a month, 2 months from now, look for these things to start hitting the Nautilus dry docks shelves. You can start getting serious about converting some of these very cool plastic model kits. I'll try and go from memory here about the ones that are out there. We've got like the Revell Type 7 in 72nd scale. We got the Type 9 in 72nd scale. We've got the Mobius models, skipjack class in 72nd scale. We've got the German Type 23 in 35th scale. That is a beautiful boat, by the way. If you are looking for something in a pool, that is a great performing boat. That is a great size. Love that, the Type 23. The Trumpeter Seawolf in 1/144 scale. That is a great model as well. So as you have heard, there is a great number of options, okay, out there for you to convert, and it'll get you into the hobby for a little bit cheaper than what you would pay for a bigger model kit. I will tell you, we're talking about 10%, 15% cheaper. The expensive stuff is the stuff that goes inside the submarine. It's not the stuff on the outside of the submarine. All right, I'll tell you that right now. That's kind of the way it works. All right, so hey, fitting kits. That was really cool. Great segue. I'm glad that we had that to come up. Let's see here. PETG, yeah, and again, that's fine. That's like a modified PLA. It's slightly better than PLA. It's not infinitely better than PLA. It's not the silver bullet. ASA works much harder to print with. Right, Steam Castle? Not everybody can print in that stuff. Would your new compartmentalizing set be compatible with a 32nd scale OTW boat hull, or should I stay with it? So compartmentalizing set. Are you talking about our MSD, watertight cylinder, the subdriver, or are you talking about the MSS system? So the MSS would absolutely work for large-scale boats, the Type 7 included. It's universal. Basically, you have the option of setting it up in whatever manner you want to. And again, check my blog article because it goes into kind of what goes into it and the approximate costs, that it goes into. And just as a spoiler there, the MSS that I set up for the big 48 scale George Washington Carver RC submarine I did for a customer, I believe tallied in at just north of $600 US for components, which compares to approximately $1,300 for like an OTW style cylinder. But the difference is the OTW cylinder is handed to you on a silver platter. You just drop a couple components in and ta-da, it's done. Whereas with the MSS, you will pay $600 and get a bench full of parts. And you are responsible for building it and engineering it and designing it and implementing it and testing it and making it work. So you can take your pick, save a little bit of money, learn a lot about RC submarines and how things go together, or buy the turnkey kit and get it going. I am going to be brutally honest and blunt with you guys. If you're not willing to spend the money to get into this hobby, you're in the wrong darn hobby. For a first submarine, unless you have significant experience, talent, and resources, I do not, by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever, advise you to build your first watertight cylinder. Back it up. Do not build your first watertight cylinder. Did you hear me? Mic check. All right. Get one under your belt. See how it works. Get the model running. Have something to play with, and then test your metal against building your own watertight cylinder. Now, this does not apply to everyone. There are exceptions to the rule, but those of you who have managed to build your own watertight cylinders are the elite. The 1% of the 1% of people who can actually make it happen. I'm being brutally honest with you, and if I'm turning you off, I'm sorry. Go play on a different channel and look for some kittens that will make you feel good about yourself. This is a hard hobby. I'm not going to pull any punches, okay? You're going to need to take my advice on this as somebody who's been doing this since 1999, all right? If you don't choose to take my advice, that's fine, and you can by all means, prove me wrong. I would love to see an email, someone saying, look, you told me not to do it and I did it anyway. Kudos to you. But for every one of you, there's going to be 99 others who tried it and failed. All right? There you go. A little bit of dazzling sunshine and rainbows to brighten up your evening. All right. Hi there, I am from the UK. I am new. I'm thinking about getting a plane, but I would like to go underwater. I have 200 British pounds to spend. Go get yourself an airplane. You are not going to get an RC submarine for 200 British pounds, which is, I'm going to take a wild guess here, maybe 260 US dollars. You'll be able to buy your radio. Woo! Have fun with that. I'm being honest. Don't get upset. You ain't gonna do it. Not gonna happen. You are in the wrong hobby. All right? U505 is no longer available from Revell, and I just sold 2 kits on my silent auction, and all of you missed it. All right? Let's see here. How do you deal with David's sunny disposition? Okay, let's talk about David Merriman III. You guys maybe not know him. He posts on my forums, forum.rc-sub.com. If you have not visited there, it is a virtual treasure trove of RC submarine information. The people that frequent that forum are amongst the elite of this hobby, both from an engineering perspective, an artistic perspective, from a knowledge perspective. You need to go and check it out. David Merriman III, who goes by, I believe, the moniker of He Who Shall Not Be Named on the forum, is an exceptionally talented individual who is very polarizing in his disposition and how he deals with people. If you are not able to take criticism, if you are not willing to do research before you pose a stupid-ass question on the forums, you'll get both barrels right up the nostrils, and nobody's gonna feel bad for you, all right? David is a massive contributor to the hobby, and you just need to be able to stand up by making sure that you've done your homework and you're not asking stupid questions, all right? Stupid questions include, how do I build an RC submarine? All right? There are resources out there already, including the forums, that go into the minutia of how to do that. If you have a specific question that you have researched and been unable to come up with a response to, and you post it up, he will be the first one to respond with a highly detailed how-to and about 4,000 photos on how to do it. All right? So how do I deal with David's sunny disposition? Don't act like an idiot. All you need to do is know what you're talking about and understand where he came from, and that he can be grumpy and blunt and in your face, and you just need to grin and bear it and love him for who he is. All right? So there you go. What else we got going on here? What is a silent auction? It is so silent you didn't hear about it. Dude, it was like I put it up on YouTube, I put it up on Facebook, I put it up on my website. I can't do anything more. Like, what the hell, Ronald? What do you want me to do? I emailed it out to everybody who's a member of my website. If you're not a member of my website, that was your fault. It's not my fault. But the idea behind the silent auction was I had a whole bunch of cool stuff left over when I moved shops. And rather than throwing it up on eBay one piece at a time, I kind of posted it up. I said, hey, what would you give me for it? And you log into the forum, you're like, hey, I'll give you $100 for that. And whoever offered me the most money for it, got it. That was it. It was a silent auction. It was a gamble, you know, on some people's part. Some people were like, oh, hey, that $1,000 model kit, I'll give you $5. And some people were, hey, you know what? It's worth $1,000. I'm going to offer you $800 or $900. Still saving $100 or $200. I think that's a great deal. So that's the way it worked. Just finished up, still shipping out the last of it. I think I got just like 2 or 3 things left over. Everything got a bid. It went really, really cool. I may do that again. You know, I'll put more stuff up there for you guys. Maybe I'll do a model kit. I've done raffles and auctions and that kind of thing before. So there you go, Ronald. You're a subscriber, but not. Hey, if you're a subscriber, you should have got my email. Should have been there. Unless you're talking about YouTube, in which case you would have seen the video. But hey, there you go. All right. What else can we talk about here? Doing a repair on a Disney Nautilus model kit. This was shipped out to a customer and it arrived with a cracked tail. Just wanted to point out that it's a resin kit. Part of the repair is not just gluing everything back together and filling it, and this is rough, it hasn't been sanded or finished, but I pinned it with a piece of brass rod inside there to add strength. Now, we're going to get into a bit of history here. These model kits are produced by a company called Masterpiece out of California. They were previously produced by a gentleman by the name of Scott Brodeen out of California. But what Scott did is he actually cut a piece of steel and put it in the tail fin and embedded it in the resin. So even if it cracked, it wouldn't break. Masterpiece doesn't do that anymore. But these build into beautiful RC submarines. If you are a fan of fantasy submarines, if you're a fan of Jules Verne, if you're a fan of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or Disney, or just a plain old cool RC submarine, this is what you're after. I have a detailed 5-part string of videos on my YouTube channel that go into how to RC these models. This is a beautiful pool sub, by the way. I have a fairly smallish pool and I can operate this boat no problem in my swimming pool. So, hey, take a look at that if that's something that you're interested in. Wanted to show this to you too, since it's like sitting right in front of me. This is something I'm playing with as an alternative for access to our subdrivers. So typically what you see, I'm going to try and do all this one-handed because, oh, that's going to be really hard to do. There we go. Typically what you'd see, these end caps, pretend this is the end of a watertight cylinder. These end caps slip in and this seal would actually seal on the inside face of the watertight cylinder, all right? So what that means is each one of these end caps I need to machine down to the specific inside diameter tolerance of these pieces of Lexan, and every darned piece of Lexan comes with a different tolerance. The outside diameter is fairly consistent, but the inside diameter is stupidly different. So I got to machine different tolerance for every single end cap, which means these are not interchangeable. And if you don't get it perfectly right, they'll either seal too hard or too easy, and they don't provide a nice seal. So what I came up with, I'm playing around with this, so we'll see what happens. This is an upgrade for those kits. And this would allow the end cap to seal on the face, very similar to like an OTW style cylinder. These arms slip around the outside and you just tighten them down. So you can control the amount of force that's applied on that seal. The seal is nice, big, beefy 1/8 inch standard, 2.5 inch diameter O-ring. I am going to make that a product. This is going to be like an upgrade product, and it'll be applicable for any sub driver that's out there. Now, obviously, it's not going to be ideal for small submarines that have tight tolerances because it adds a little bit of like width to the outside there. But it will do massive things for ease of access, and you don't need to like pry at the lip anymore and crack big chunks out of it in order to get it off. So, hey, look for that coming soonish. The beauty of me having hired somebody is I can bring a bunch of production in-house. I am so excited about that. I wanted to show you one more thing because this is, well, there's a couple things. My son is working on this. Does anybody recognize this? Surely you recognize this. If you don't recognize this, you don't, I don't even want to know you. So this is a plastic model kit from Ertl, back from, God, it was probably released in like the 1980s or something like that, but you can still get them. Gosh, I'm going to guess it's probably maybe 16 or 18 inches in overall length, but my son, this is his project. This is going to be a fully functional, remote-controlled Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. It's you know, we're going for something, you know, pretty realistic. This is something I came up with for a drive system. So this is all printed in clear PETG plastic for aesthetic purposes. It'll go back here, kind of like this-ish. And it'll be lit by blue LEDs, and it'll look all very cool and everything. And then in the back here, there's this series of jets, and hopefully you can see this, but this tilts up and down. And the left side will all have jets that tilt independent of the right side, and they're going to be able to provide pitch and also roll, because each one of these chambers will be fed by a pump jet that forces water in and then out these jets. So that's the main propulsion. We're going to be doing cool things with this. If you take a look, we got some gun pieces right here, and this is a laser, a 3-volt laser, and that's going to come out from the middle of those guns, and that'll be controllable from the transmitter, so we can shoot blasters out of this thing. It'll have full LED lights, a very cool paint job. So it's my son's project. I am providing guidance and technical support, but he is doing all of the hard work. He's got an intro video up already if you want to check. Take a look at that and follow along. Something else I've been playing with, I don't know if you guys can recognize that, but that is Flatbed from Abyss. So I found some 3D files for free online, and like many of the 3D files you get, they are nowhere remotely close to anything that you would be able to just 3D print. So I took a little bit of time and modified them, but this will be a full RC submarine of Flatbed from Abyss. Should be really cool. I've got a little dude, he's like 5.25 inches tall, that is going to drive Flatbed for me. All right. I saw something from Ed Torrell here. If the OD has better tolerance, why not make the Ed caps female fitting over the Lexan tube with the ID of the O-ring serving as the seal? That would certainly work. All right. But The reason I like sealing on the forward face, Ed, is that you probably save yourself a minimum of 1/4 of an inch of additional diameter in that cylinder, which is a big consideration because I do not want that cylinder to be too fat. 2.5 inch diameter. When we start talking about boats like the Revelgado, that becomes a critical tolerance. And if we go from 2.5 inch up to say 3 inch in the back, that's going to affect the ability of that cylinder to fit in there. And again, the other thing is once you loosen off those screws, hold on here, oh, I'll lose y'all. Once you loosen off these screws, there is zero pressure. It's just like bloop, comes right off. You don't have to like pop it off, right? It's something that I can control the tolerance of the face, the tolerance of the OD, and the tolerance of the cylinder in-house. So I think this is gonna work really, really good. Dave Merriman's not a big fan, but you know what they say about old horses and dogs and tricks and whatever he is. Oh, everything's gonna fall apart here. All right. Let's see here. Have I ever done the flying sub from the voyage to the bottom of the sea? I have never personally done that. But as you saw with that Millennium Falcon, the methodology is exactly the same. All right, so basically what you're looking at is a pair of twin jets out the back, and you're gonna have independent control. So you're gonna be able to pitch up and down, and you're gonna have roll ability if you independently, manipulate those. So basically all you need, and you don't need a ballast system, you just ballast it ever so slightly positive. All you need is a motor, 2 servos, speed controllers, 2 motors. You know, it's pretty simple stuff. Tons of information on the forums and on YouTube if you check it out. Super popular. If you take a look at the Mobius kit of the flying sub, that is a super popular kit to turn into RC. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, Ed, the gentleman that just chimed in there, he's doing a bigger version of that. I don't know where he got that kit from. Let's see here. Someone's talking about frequency usage. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the challenges facing the RC submarine community right now, 75 megahertz is the approved frequency for surface and subsurface operations here in North America. Overseas, you're talking in Europe, for example, 40 megahertz. In both cases, those frequencies are really no longer manufactured because everybody loves gigahertz radios, 2.4 gigahertz radios. They offer a tremendous amount of advantages for most people because you don't need to have crystals, you've got all the telemetry options, and they're just beautiful, and they hook up and they work, and you don't need to worry about tripping over other people's boats and all of this fun stuff. So nobody makes these old radios or the low frequency radios anymore. And the issue is high frequency radios do not penetrate water whatsoever. Some people are like, oh, well, you know, I run a 400 megahertz system and it works fine. It may work, you know, for a couple of feet or 3 feet, and that's fine. But you know, there's a lot of regulation on those frequencies. This is a big problem for the hobby. Now, fortunately, I, in conjunction with another talented supplier or ex-supplier to the hobby, have come across a fairly largish supply of 75 megahertz radios. So, yay for North American people, and boo for the poor people over in Europe. Ronald was like, oh, 72 megahertz. Yeah, 72 megahertz works, but it's illegal. Sucks for you. If they catch you, they're going to take your stuff. Odds of them finding you and taking it is pretty slim. But technically, and according to the Nautilus Dry Dock, 72 megahertz is not legal. You're a criminal. Don't do it. 75 megahertz is approved for surface frequency or subsurface frequency, but 72 megahertz works. So yeah, that's going to be, you know, a big challenge here coming up. But if we can get this supply down, which we think we have, we should be able to be good, you know, for a while. Now, Ed, who chimed in there, Ed Tortle, he runs 2.4 gigahertz on his submarines, which you can. The challenge with that is you need to have the antenna protruding above the surface of the water at all times, or you will not be able to control your RC submarine. It's actually kind of cool where you can operate your sub at periscope depth with just the tip sticking out of the water. Still submerged, periscope sticking up, just like a normal submarine would do. You just can't dive all the way, which sucks. But it is a viable option for those of you who want to undertake that. Max depth. This is a common question. How deep do they go? They'll go as deep as you want them to go, all the way to the bottom. The challenge is getting them back up again. Typically, when you're operating an RC submarine, you need to be able to keep track of where it is, right? So you cannot be overly deep. I would say, anything in excess of 1 foot, from the top of the sail to the surface of the water. Anything in excess of that is foolhardy, unless you're operating in a swimming pool or some other area where there is unlimited visibility to your boat. My opinion, take it or leave it. Now, radios, however, will broadcast and be able to communicate with the submarine at much, much greater depths. I have personally controlled my RC submarine whilst standing above it on a dock in depths of excess of 30 feet without issue in perfectly clear, fresh water. Caveat: any contaminants whatsoever in the water are going to dramatically reduce your range, and this includes chemical, mineral, and biological contaminants. All right? In particular, for those of you who love the idea of being able to run your RC submarine in salt water, sorry about your luck, okay? Ain't gonna happen. You're gonna get a few inches of depth at best, and you're gonna lose it, all right? Fresh water with zero contaminants, you'll get quite deep. Depth is also a function of distance. The further away your sub is, the shallower it needs to operate, all right? If you're at like 100 feet away, you may lose signal at like a foot of depth because the maximum amount of signal degradation occurs at the air-water interface, okay? And when you're hitting that plane at a shallow angle, those radio waves just skip off into the sunset, never to be seen again. So there you go. That's our depth talk. Eric Hawkins just talked to, hey, how's that Millennium Falcon project going? Dude, you just missed like a 45-minute presentation on the whole thing. It was awesome. It was finished, and LucasArts is talking to us, and George Lucas is coming by, in a couple days, and it's just going to be epic. You missed it. I'm sorry about that. It's terrible. You'll have to back up and check it out. Sorry about that. That's it for questions. We're at 48 minutes. Fortunately, I've managed to blather on this whole time. So I talked to you. Skipjack is out for those 3D hulls for those of you who are interested in it. Something else that is going to be coming out that I'm super excited about. Eric, by the way, I was totally kidding. You said so cool. I really hope that you didn't think I was serious talking about that. All right. Okay. Yes, new hull coming out. So, extremely talented gentleman by the name of Kevin MacLeod does all of my RC submarine dedicated electronics, KMC Designs, Kevin MacLeod out of Canada. And he does, or did, a beautiful, gorgeous 196 scale Russian Oscar two submarine. For you big sub guys, this is what you want. I love that boat. It works out to about, I'm guessing here, I'm remembering, about 64 inches in overall length, but it's got a big beam. It's like 7.5 or 8 inches in beam. And the really cool thing, those Oscars were ballistic missile boats. They shot like missiles out at 45 degrees from these tubes that were mounted on either side of the dry hull inside. But I'm digressing here. The cool thing is I ended up with the master patterns and the rights to produce Kevin's 196 scale Oscar. So now, in conjunction with Bob Dimmack with OTW, we will be bringing that Oscar 2 kit to market for you guys. It is going to be absolutely gorgeous. Kevin MacLeod did the masters. OTW is going to be doing the production. And if you're familiar with OTW quality, you know this is going to be a beautiful, high quality kit. So if you're a fan of Russian boats, if you're a fan of big boats, if you're a fan of cool boats, this is what you want. I will mention, just as an aside, scale ships out of Belarus, Russia, Vladimir, of whom I adore and do a lot of business with, did produce a 196 scale Oscar kit, but that is, according to him, no longer in production because the molds are burned out, and I don't know if that is going to be coming back or not. Ed is bugging me about 148th Disney Nautilus, and yes, that is still going. So part of the limitations of me being a one-man business is that I can't do a lot of things myself, and so I've contracted out to a company out of California to clean up the master patterns for the 148 scale Disney Nautilus model kit. They are working on it. I've given them a deadline of having the master patterns completed by the end of August. I want to be into full production on that thing by fall. I want all of the prototype model, the instructions, and the first 10 kits ready to go for the fall. So that is the timeline that we are looking at if you're a fan of the aforementioned Disney Nautilus. This is 177th scale. You're looking at 148 scale, so it's going to be about 48 inches in overall length. That is a very handy size for both display and for RC. That will be coming out shortly. I'm going to tease all of you guys here now. I have come across, over the course of the last few months, three 1/32 scale Disney Nautilus CR 66-inch Nautilus models. I am going to be taking photos and listing those up. If it's something you're interested in, hit me up. Make sure your wallet is properly padded, because I needed to pay a lot, including my left leg, which is why I'm limping around a lot, for some of these kits. Impossible to find, out of production for years. If you're interested in a large scale Disney Nautilus model, I have 3 of the 66.5-inch Disney Nautilus models available for purchase. They're the earlier versions, Gen 1, Gen 2. So very, very cool. My favorite model of all time ever. Let's see here. What do we got here? I have a rod on my sub, which acts as a periscope. Also, an antenna extension. Never go deeper than a foot, because if you can't see it, you can't control it. Excellent point, Lawrence. That is a great piece of advice for anybody operating an RC submarine. If you are not an experienced RC submariner, always keep your RC submarine within visual line of sight, at least some part of it, that of course being the mast. If you lose sight of it, immediately blow ballast and you won't have to go diving for your boat. Experienced RC submariners can operate their submarines at higher speeds, fully submerged, and the cool thing about that is it leaves a wake a subtle wake on the surface. If you have your boat ballasted properly and trimmed properly with an angle keeper on the planes, it will retain a perfectly level operation, just submerged, and it will just create this beautiful rippling wake in the surface, and that's the only way you can see it. That is the true epitome of achievement for an RC submariner, to be able to operate their submarine for extended periods of time at that depth, know where it is, and bring it back up safely. So you can aspire to something like that. What is the largest dive cylinder that will fit in the Revell 1/72nd scale Gato? The largest one that I would recommend for the use in that would be a 2.5-inch diameter, but you can get pretty long because it is a long boat, almost 30 inches in length, I think. Our 250 MSD sub driver fits nicely in there. Make sure that you order the dual shaft version because it's got 2 propeller shafts coming out the back of the boat. All right. 56 minutes and 6 seconds plus all the gravy minutes because I got on early. We're doing great. Last couple of minutes for questions from you guys before I sign off at the 1 hour mark. Look for if you have the chance or inclination, I've got live interactive video sessions going on for Dive Tribe members, and it's a $49 membership fee, but I have a bunch of specials going on right now. If you're looking to get into the hobby right now, and this is just be going on for another month or so, $65 off any MSD subdriver purchase, and I can retroactively apply that or apply it to a full package purchase if you're going to be doing that as well. I also have a deal going on right now. If you buy a full RC submarine package from me and you build it and it works, and if you do that within 90 days, I will give you back in cash, like virtual cash, like through PayPal, $200 or more if you take in-store credit. So it's a certain percentage up to $200. If you're ever thinking about getting into it, this is for Dive Tribe members only, that would certainly pay for it and then some. Only Dive Tribe members get that live interactive video. We do it every 2 weeks. For now, you can hop online, talk RC sub stuff, show off, ask questions. You can pick at the minds of some of this hobby's greatest, more experienced, let's not call them greatest, more-ish experienced-ish RC submariners to get your questions answered. It is absolutely worth it. Check it out, nautilusdrydocs.com. Check up on the top, Dive Tribe. Sign up. We would love to have you in there. And hey, don't forget to show your Dive Tribe pride by grabbing a Dive Tribe t-shirt while you are in there. Let's see here. Anybody doing a big Foxtrot kit sub? Not big is ambiguous. If I have my Carruthers, there may be a 72nd Foxtrot kit coming out. That's all I'm going to say. Things are in the works. All right. Let's see here. How's your Trafalgar? Traf? I assume. Oh, the mat. Yeah, he's talking about Traf. I had to shelve that darn thing, Matthew, because I needed to ship out submarines and get things like this Type 21 done. So that's back on the shelf. By the way, what I did, Matthew, because you'll appreciate this, I got rid of that centrifugal pump and I replaced it with a gear pump and solenoid valve, very similar to the OTW system. I was only getting maybe a quarter of the capacity of that ballast tank with that old Shearline centrifugal pump system, and this gets me more like 60%. So it's a lot better when we want to think about it. All right. Shelved. Anybody looking for a Shearline Trafalgar, I've got one on the shelf almost ready to go, and it is absolutely gorgeous. All right. Let's see here. We are gearing down the Bob universe. I love people when they visit my world. It has no bearing on reality. I can make those of my own. 1 hour, 7 seconds on this beautiful Thursday evening. Thank you for joining me. You guys are absolutely awesome. Had over 30 of you join and listen to my rants, raves, and many other talks about RC submarines. If you have questions or comments, or you want to share your project, or you want to figure out where to get stuff from, or whatever, hit me up anytime, bob@rc-sub.com, or contact me through my website. Man, you guys love the chat interaction thing on my website. You know, it always says I'm not available, but it actually comes directly to my cell phone whenever you type in there. Don't abuse it or I'll cut you off. But if you do have a legit question, type it in there, come straight to my phone, and if I've got a second, I will get back to you, right on the homepage of my website. So hit me up, bob@rc-sub.com, any time. Love to hear from you. Email's better. Don't text me unless it's urgent, you darn people. All right. Eric Hawkins, dude, you really did come late. We talked about plastic model kits like extensively, so we're done. I'm capping it off. You're cut off. You want more, you're going to have to come back in a month's time, or hey, every 2 weeks if you join the Dive Tribe. And then it's not just you typing into cyberspace. You can get all hooked up with your video camera, get your time in the spotlight, and we can talk RC submarines. Good night, everyone. My name is Bob Martin, and I am the RC sub guy with the NautilusDryDocks.com. I appreciate you, and hope to see you back next time. Thanks. Catch you next time.